Welcome to Life Fit with DVD. I am back again with another video, and today I wanted to follow up on Friday's video, which I guess I will link here, is about what motivates you. So I had talked about a lot of the positive aspects of what can motivate a person in the material world, or maybe it's something that's more based on a belief system or your values. So, intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. I believe I said that right. And we all have different types of motivation. Now, depending on how you are hardwired, what is in your environment, you might be more motivated on the negative end of the spectrum and driven by fear. Now, I think we're all driven by both ends of the spectrum. However, what are you being driven by more? Is it the positive things that make you feel good, or the things that you want to avoid and the negative ramifications of what those might be, or what those might be? So, looking at this way, we start getting into our own fears. And sometimes our fears are different and not all the same based on the person next to us. So, what different types of fear are there, right? So, one type of fear is a fear of intimacy. We might be afraid of connecting with people on a close, like intimate level, because if we do, the fear of that might be that they might know us and be able to exploit us. There's fears of tradition and having to figure out who is going to provide for you. Um, can you take care of yourself? Will you be able to take care of yourself? At the end of the day, are you making ends meet? You can have the fear of silence, right? Of not being heard for your message, or then you don't actually have anything to say that is worthy, that is worth listening to. There's also a fear of inadequacy, not being enough, not feeling that your emotional experience or your experience in life has prepared you for what is to come and the future. You can just have a fear of rejection. So, obviously, not getting along with the rest of the community, the society, the tribe. There can be a lack of awareness there about what is needed to fit into the tribe and then being rejected from it. There can be a fear of nothingness, emptiness, and that what you are doing doesn't matter. And then, of course, there is a fear of your own mortality and where you're going. And basically, if you're predestined to be done at a certain point in time, and what that might look like for not just yourself, but everybody else. So there's all different sorts of fears that we have, and are we letting them motivate us, or are we trying to avoid them, right? There's all sorts of ways that we can look at these fears, because typically these fears are coming from an emotional standpoint that we might not be aware of, and we might not be monitoring them appropriately. Because often what happens with our fears a lot of the time, and this is what I've experienced, is we have been taught not to experience them, that these fears are bad. We don't want to get into them. We don't want to feel them, and really just, I want to almost say think about them, but it's not an intellectual thing, because I think there's a lot of intellectualization that happens with our emotions, where we need to instead be feeling them. We need to be experiencing them and trying to identify them for what they are. What is this feeling? What is it about? What am I experiencing? What did it stem from? And just allowing ourselves to experience that emotional wave of whatever it is, whatever that feeling is of fear, and to not get wrapped up in it, but just to experience it and let it go. And this can take some time, right? I mean, depending on whatever experience it is that you're feeling fear around, this could take, just a moment in time to a few minutes of fear to a few hours to, if it's something huge like a death of somebody or, whatever, it might take a long time, a few weeks, months, years to actually experience that emotion and letting ourselves work through it. Um, and this also depends on the level of conditioning that we have had around our feelings and our fears. So if we've been taught to bottle up our emotions and that no, nobody is allowed to talk about their feelings and they don't matter here, right? Like, I don't care what you're saying about your feelings or whatever, and you just decide to ignore it. Well, yeah, then you're going to have a buildup of emotions that at some point is going to come out in probably a very unhealthy way. And if it doesn't come out, it's probably going to be internalized and affect you internally in a health, physical related way. Um, this is why there is a connection. Absolutely is a connection between your body and what you're feeling. And I mean, maybe an easy example of just like, when you're uptight, carry your shoulders a little bit higher, and they get tight, and there's a lot of emotions that get built up in there, right? And it's like, oh, I need a massage. But this is what, massage therapy is about, that helps to release emotions. And this is why it is so important to move your body. Another example that I am thinking about is even for animals. When animals are stressed, if they have a confrontation with another animal or are trying to hunt or something and they get whipped up and super anxious towards whatever the external stimulus they're seeing, after it's gone, they might shake, right? They might shake violently to literally remove the stress from their body. And I'm sure there's like a chemical component to this of, adrenaline gets moving through their veins and their bodies. And then after that is gone, they need to somehow clear that from their muscles so that it doesn't build up and sit there to where it becomes, either a knot in your muscles or some sort of other physical ailment that will ultimately lead to, long-term detrimental health. So these are just a few examples of different fears and how they can manifest in your body. So once again, this is why it's so important to allow your body to feel them, not to judge them, not to intellectualize them, not to try to shove them down and get them to go away, right? Now, if you are in an environment that doesn't condone you experiencing those emotions, step away from it. Get away from it and get to somewhere where you can feel safe, right? And I'm not trying to talk about this in the snowflake way where it's like, oh, everybody needs to feel their emotions and all of that. Like, look, everybody has emotions, right? But are we shoving them down? Are we being taught to process them the right way? Because there's a lot of freaking people out there that have no idea how to process their own emotions. And that's a real pandemic, in my opinion, is the mental health of people because they don't know how to process things. They don't know how to process their feelings in an appropriate adult-like way. And the worst part is that the adults are teaching the kids the inappropriate way to respond to things. And this is a major, major issue in our society nowadays, where everybody thinks that they're entitled to share their feelings and do it in a demonstrative way that really is an internal thing, not something else that is making them feel that way, right? It's something that's going on within them, their own fears of whether it be their fate or their inadequacy or their inability to figure out who's going to provide for them, right? All of these existential questions that they've never really thought through. And I hope this message is making sense. We all need a little bit better emotional intelligence. And this is just something that I have worked through. And it's taken me years to figure out what is an appropriate emotional IQ for any and all situations, because they are all different. And it has taken me years to unwind my experiences and my own conditioning to what is an appropriate emotional response and feeling it instead of just bottling it up or ignoring it and trying to get away from certain things that maybe are a little bit scary, right? So I wanted to bring up this topic because it's something that I was thinking about significantly this weekend, and I thought that it might be something worth talking about with all of you. So if you want to talk about this more with me, or want me to explore your fears more in depth and maybe some of the emotions you have around them and how to actually feel these things in a way that you're going to be able to manage them better in the future, let me know in the comments. If you like or subscribe, I'd love that as well. It would mean a lot for me, or to me. And anyway, until next time, I will be back tomorrow with some more ideas and another video. All right. Until next time, see you later.